What's up, Carl? How you doing, brother? Just type this shit up. Yeah, we're doing pretty good, man. We're just trying to get back into the whole fucking swing of things. You know, after you not fucking, it's crazy. Like after you don't post for like 6 weeks, and you have like a whole rhythm, and then trying to get back into it after like not being able to do that is like it's a little bit of a transition. Um, Plus, like I have so many emails that got so many emails and messages that obviously I was not able to answer for like the last 6 weeks, and there's like hundreds of them, and I'm trying to go back through them and answer everybody's emails and questions and everything like that. But I appreciate you. What is going on? How's everybody doing tonight? Uh, Give me a second, everybody. Apparently, I don't know how to spell. One second. All right. All right. I think I did that properly. All right. What's up, brother? How you doing, fucking Tony DiCaprio, brother? What's up? All right. So if you ever hear me sound like I have a list because I have my fucking retainer in, because as an adult, I want to take the shit out. Because my teeth were never bad enough when I was like a kid, but they weren't perfect. And now, as a 40-year-old man, I have Invisalign trying to make my teeth better because I grind my teeth in my sleep. Hey, what's up? What's up, Markov? 67. Rolling pace. Hey, man, save some of the ladies for the rest of us. Oh, bro. Oh, man. So, what are you guys doing on this fine Sunday evening? Oh, shit. All right. So, we're going to be. Fuck. All right. So, all right. I'm a little disorganized right now. I'm going to pull up these emails and shit. I'm trying to multitask because every time I do these lives, I suck at multitasking. Like there was the one, I think it was like the first one I did, um, or the first or second one. I tried to meal prep while doing this, and I just get completely distracted by all the questions. Do you know any, Carl? Do you know any good night land nav prep courses? I want to kill it an SFASQ course, and there is definitely my weakness. So there are, so it's interesting. So a lot of the courses, like back in the time when I was, going through like selections and stuff like that and everything like that, there weren't really courses like that. There was only like civilian tracker courses, but there are actually some really good courses. Actually, I can pull it up right now. That they do that. They basically accomplish all this. Like they were actually really good. Like former military guys, and there's actually ones who do it out of the mountains of West Virginia, which is, you know, is the best place to do it because it's by the hardest. It's the hardest land nav that I've seen in the domestic United States. Um, so let me look this up real quick for you, and I'm gonna tell you which one this is. Because I found this like weeks ago, and it's actually I reached out to these guys and talked to them, and it's a pretty good land. So give me 1 second while I look this up for you. All right, there is it's the True North Wilderness Survival School, and they have a course that's called Tier 1 Military Land Navigation Training Course, and it's how to do land nav in West Virginia. So if you need anything else, send me a message, Carl, and then I'll hook it up. Circle of Life. Do you have any dark amber aura surrounding you? You've not seen this in many years. It is very rare. Do you have any relative? This gift has the power to see or speak in tongues. This is an Asian gift. To be honest, I have no idea. So I don't know much about it. You're more welcome to tell me about it. Sup, Stella Stewart. All right. Well, I have had a lot of people die in my life. All my parents are dead. They passed away. I've had a lot of friends who have passed away. A lot of family members. Like my sister is the oldest living member of my family. Did you hear what Deacon had to say about survival, Dolly? Just type in what you're referring to. I'm not exactly sure who you're talking about with Deacon and everything like that. What's up, Nate? Cream and bro. You guys are ridiculous. Could I join? I'm a blood from Baltimore. What do you want to join? The military? What is your name? Law? What's up, Mr. Mick Think? How you doing, brother? Justin Bella. So I don't know if I talked about this. I probably have done it before. I've been a gamer for most of my life, and any true gamers or any people who really sit in computer chairs know that if you don't have a good chair, it really kind of sucks. And I got this one 4 or 5 years ago, and to be honest, I've loved it ever since. It's not only is it a very comfortable chair, it's actually a high quality chair. And I'm not small, so and I spent a lot of hours in this chair, so I can definitely recommend these. And actually, I don't even think they're that expensive nowadays. All right. Lamar Dash, do you support Trump? Well, I consider myself very moderate. There are things on the right side, you know, conservatives that I agree with. There's things on the liberal side of things that I agree with. So, you know, personally, and honestly, I don't really want to get really political about any of this particular stuff. But there will be things if I agree or disagree with certain things, then I can definitely talk about that. But I think just going into generalizations about who you support, I think is kind of like a slippery slope. I would definitely talk about specific issues and how I feel about specific things. So, anyways, Fire and of Ice, Fire. Oh, damn it! Sorry, Fire and Ice, Survival, the smartest. Bro, are you Neil Patrick Harris? You know, I think like would be like possibly the much larger version of him, but I'm actually a big fan of Neil Patrick Harris. I think he's funny. He's a great actor. What did I say? What did you say? All right. The only people who say I'll be honest are the people who said you support Trump. So, what are your plans for Stoic Viking? So, so I want. I am assuming, Jean Pierre, you're talking about this channel. So, my whole vision for this channel is to share like life lessons that I have learned through my life, and just so other people don't have to go through like the same mistakes that I have, because there's a lot of things that people don't want to talk about, you know, especially as, men and, especially hyper masculine communities. We don't talk about our mental health. We don't talk about, sacrifices and whether or not they're worth it. And just, a mindset and not only just talking about a mindset that helps you to just get through life and crush it, but also practicing, that mindset, because you can talk a big game, but you, at the end of the day, you have to put your money where your mouth is, right? Your actions, you need to have actions on top of your words. And I think that's a big thing that, there's been times in my life where, I've struggled with certain things. And I know that one of the things that always helped me was action, taking action, even though you didn't want to take action. And so, sharing that, I do really think that, philosophy, and especially stoicism, like, the a lot of the tenets within stoicism are so helpful in life. It just like really just really helps you to focus on the things that are actually more important, and kind of push the things that are not important like off to the side. So I think that is a big aspect to it. I'm not going to talk about war stories because I don't think that's important. And then, I'm really passionate about, fitness and just and health, because I've always been pretty fit and pretty healthy for most of my life. But I have, in the last 9 months, since I turned 40 back in, you know, a little under a year ago, I decided to change the way that I did things. I wanted to take it to the next level. And I'm honestly in the best shape of my life. And I'm like stronger, I'm more agile at the age of 40 than I was at 30. And I thought I was impressive. I thought I was in very impressive shape. And to be honest, I am in better shape than, and just those type of journeys, I just feel like if I can help a single person with something that I have learned, like that's my mission, right? And you know, so it's a probably long-winded answer to your question, John Pierre. I hope that was helpful. Destiny Love, bro, is so handsome. Well, I appreciate that. Anybody who doesn't, I've always felt like I have a face that people want to punch. So I appreciate that you don't want to do that, Destiny Love. So, Vince Knox, how long is a National Guard SF team guy actually gone during the year apart from the Bulls? That all depends. It depends on what's going on. What type of deployments are going on, or is there a conflict going on? That kind of all depends on the particular situations. Are your teams doing J sets, and what other types of training they're doing? But probably right now, because there isn't really any, we're not in the Iraq War, we're not in Afghanistan anymore. The deployments have definitely slowed down in those communities. So, Lamar Dash. So you want to know my stance about immigration? Well, I think if you come to this country legally, awesome. If you come to this country illegally, it's illegal for a reason. Shooting a local brother. Skull, my Viking brother. Skull, brother. I like your beard. Thank you. So I'm actually, I don't know if you guys can tell, but I'm actually blonde, but right about here, my beard turns red. And the longer it gets, the more red gets. And then the longer my hair gets, the blonder it gets. There's a weird transition. And in high school, I went through a long sideburn phase, but it was weird because I'd be blonde and then it would here, and I thought it was cool to have long sideburns. It just looked weird because I had two-tone colors. Not a good look. I know you're rich by looking at your eyes. Well, oof, I wish that was actually true. If Tokars, if you can, if maybe there's some secret that I'm missing, but I appreciate that. Mister, I think I said I meant Ponzi scheme policies I've been seeing on both sides affecting farmers and trade. I missed this previous comment. Tow cars, can you fit the mic in your mouth? No, I cannot. It's too big. That's what she said. Wish she had blue eyes like you. What color eyes you got, brother? Bold choice going in with a fully open collar. Yeah. What you talking about? Like, what you want me to like, do this versus a tie? It's not really my style. Like, if I'm wearing three, I would say even a lot of times when I wear three-piece suits, I actually still like to go with the open, and then not the tie. Well, because I like the whole look and I like the vest. But for certain events, obviously when you have to wear ties, you wear ties. It is what it is. Nathan Hale, welcome back. Did you see that helicopter crash in SoCal? Thoughts? Wait, when did that one happen? I have been sort of out of the loop the last week. I know that there was. Oh, was that the one that just crashed into? I think it crashed into right outside the building, the palm trees. Is that the one you're talking about? Because I think I just saw that one today. Yeah, I agree. Always wear it open. XQCC, I appreciate that. One of the things I actually always try to do is one, take care of myself, but I'll be completely honest. A big thing that I think has really helped me to stay as not looking essentially my age. I always try not, I am 40, but I try not to look 40. Is actually skincare. Like actually having a good skincare routine is really important. And to be honest, not many guys do it. And I'm telling you, I probably stopped doing it for maybe a year, and then when I restarted it up the beginning of this year, I instantly saw a huge change. It's like I almost hit the reversal on the way my aging looked in the skin and everything like that. Green eyes, dude. Green eyes is if anything, I've heard a lot of people I think green eyes and blue eyes. That's usually what people are looking for, especially if you have darker skin or even darker hair and you've got blue eyes or green eyes, especially if you're darker skin and green eyes, that's just that contrasting look. It's very attractive. Mr. Mick Think, I'm turning 30 soon, work full time, and need life advice. What do you need life advice about, brother? We're here. We're here in the community. Let's talk about it. What's your advice on work-life balance in the military? Well, I think that's a lot of what I've been talking about on these channels. And let's see. Work-life balance. So I think that one of the great things that you can get out of the military is there are a lot of really amazing experiences and opportunities that you can't find anywhere else in the civilian world. Between the missions, the job itself, the camaraderie, the brotherhood, all these different things are amazing, right? And there's a time for maybe the first 5 years of you doing it or whatever job that you want to get to, whether it's to get to special forces or maybe volunteer. You get there, you do 5 years, and that it's going to be a lot of work, right? And I guess one of the best ways to equate this to the civilian side is going to work for a company with SpaceX. Well, if you know that that's company, the work to life balance is not very good, but if you get in there, and I think it's after 5 years, after 5 years, they you get stop options. But that's one of the things, you go in for this amazing experience, and then you work your ass off for those couple of years, and then you then go do something else. And I feel that's a great way to look at the military. And this is my advice: is to go in, know exactly what you want to do, get there, achieve it, do it for 5 years, at whatever level you want to get to, and then leave. Take that civilian experience, and then um, and then go, you know, and then go off and do something else. And then, that way you have more freedom, um, different things like that. So I hope that answers your question. Travis Berkshire, hello. I'm an armed veteran serving in Vietnam. Can you please give me a shout out? If I give you a subscriber, I appreciate you so very much. Well, Travis, brother, we got you. And thank you for your service. Yeah. Sorry. This thing, remind me. Ace, how can you maximize your time while active duty to ensure you'll be better set up for success while ETSing going in later next year? So I think one of the biggest parts to that, Ace, is concentrating on in your spare time, like your education, whether it's getting your degree, like you have an idea of what you want to do when you get out, and in your spare time work towards those goals and achieve those goals as much as you can before you go and get out. And I think a biggest problem that a lot of people have with ETSing, and obviously we'll have more of a discussion about this later, we're actually planning to have a video about this, is people too much tie their identity to being in the military. So when they leave, since they had their identity tied to this profession, this job, that's where they struggle when they get out. But if you just realize that it's just a job that you had, and then you don't tie your identity to it, you have a much easier time when you transition. Yo, mama, you are red. We talking about the skin color? Ronald Pace, do a flip. Not in here. And I'm gonna be honest. I'm actually really sore from all the workouts, and I just finished the tournament with the British Armed Forces this weekend, and I'm really sore, especially like in my legs. So definitely not doing a flip, nor would I do it in here. But maybe we'll do one of these. We'll do one of these lives outdoors. And I can do a flip then. So, Carl, do you have any Scandinavian ties? Well, that's what I like to think that I do. I have brown hair and red beard. Yeah, so everybody in my family has a red beard, regardless of hair color. And I have an older brother, my oldest brother. He has a red beard, and he has brown hair as well. So, yo, Bargy, you talked about a chisel man. I appreciate that, brother. Mr. Mick, think I have that same mic. Yeah, this one is the the newer one, the USB mic. I originally got it for gaming, but there's much other things that I want to do in life, and because I'm kind of like, I have an addictive personality to being the best in anything, so I don't really play video games as much, just because I always want to be the best at it, and it takes up way too much of my time, and I don't really get anything productive out of it. Redheads make strawberry blondes, then blondes. Yeah, well, I'm a blonde with red beard, but I'm actually going like darker. It's slowly going darker to actually more of a I'm like a light brunette, which I'm not truly hating right now. So it is what it is. Sugar White, know anyone from 19th Group in Washington? That is a good question. I'm trying to remember if I still know anybody who's still up there. You know what? As a matter of fact, I do. Sugar White, send me an email. My email should be in the bio, and I'll get you in contact with him. Because I think that he's still in, and he's in 19th group, and he's actually based out of Washington. Your brother, you got a chiseled face. I appreciate that. You know, you know. I guess at some of the days you have to be thankful for some of your genetics, and I do like, um, I feel like a strong jaw is a thing. But I will tell you that I actually do things to help shape my neckline and stuff. For a reason, recently I learned that I was a mouth breather, and I actually do the mouth tape now. And I would say within a month, I started noticing from pictures, at least from my neck like started to get better now that I don't do mouth breathing as much. There's a whole thing about it, and there's like mewing techniques and everything like that. So, if anybody's ever tried that, I would try it. Like you kind of see a visible difference over 30 days. Also, I sleep better with mouth tape. My personal experience. Sugar White, which episode of the real estate investing podcast were you on again? Let me double check. I think it was 206. Let me check it. That is not what we're going for. Yes, it is the Bigger Pockets episode 206. It was the one that I was on many years ago. So, Yo Boyje, how old are you? I am 40. I am 40 years old. Actually, I'm coming up on my birthday. I'm about to turn 41, actually. Understand when a comment is a rhetorical question. Wow, I think you're gorgeous. Well, little it shit up, bud. Appreciate that. Do you think Afghanistan can hold Pakistan back? Uh, I don't think that. Well, you have to think about, like, let's look at the history of Afghanistan. Afghanistan has been invaded or occupied by much stronger countries than Pakistan. You can go in and you can take over Afghanistan, but can you hold it? That's another story. And that's what history has taught us. And much stronger countries than Pakistan have failed at that when it comes to Afghanistan. It's a very interesting terrain, very interesting country, and it's a very interesting culture when it comes to what would be the consequences if a country like Pakistan was ever to try to invade for whatever reason. Thoughts on the Charlie Kirk assassination? Well, I don't believe in a zero tolerance for political violence. I think once you start assassinating, people who you disagree with, like I think that completely defeats the concept of, open dialogue. Because the beauty of this country and the beauty of our system is that we discuss our differences and we need an open dialogue. And I feel like we've sort of lacked that. I think that we were started in getting back to that. I think Charlie Kirk was one of the people who was he was openly debating people, and he was actually trying to, start a dialogue. And one of the things I remember he used to always say is that when people stop talking is when people and countries go to war. And I think that there's a lot of historical proof to that statement. So I think it's just very important that we discuss our differences, because it's okay to have different opinions about things, especially about political things. So yeah, zero tolerance for political assassinations. Even if it was on the left or the right, I don't think anybody should in this country. Brad Black, they're fighting now. Tokars, you Thorn. I apologize. Like sometimes I'm reading some of these comments and maybe I just missed the previous comments, but if I don't get what you're saying, just try to repeat it in a better way, and then that way I can better. How long should I cut my lawn for winterization? Bro, Alex Cigar, I have no idea. I don't cut lawns. I don't even have a lawn. My horses cut the lawns that I'm involved in, so I got nothing. I actually have no Don't even know how to do that stuff. Not exactly my area of expertise, if you will. Your boy Jay. You look good and have an awesome day. Well, I appreciate that, brother. Married or have kids? Married, no. Kids, none that I know of. One is by BGA. Just finished Epictetus' Discourses. What an amazing book. We'll definitely read it again. What was your favorite part of his discourses, or some of the favorite teachings that you got out of Epictetus? Vince Knox, is there hand-to-hand combat in the Q course? I wanted to ask for some insight about the type of tactics SF uses. I've written from forums, it's broad, but I find vague answers. Well, there's vague answers because there has been, but then it's changing. It's changed over the years. Like, they've introduced a couple different things, but I'll be honest, close hand-to-hand combat is never really that big of a focus. It's definitely at any level in the soft community, whether it's tier 2 or tier 1. Hand-to-hand combat is not really, it's really not focused on as much as it should be, especially at the tier 2 level. Because I remember getting to group, and I definitely thought this is like the level of, like, because I wrestled, and I was on a team who my team sergeant was a jiu-jitsu guy, and just with my wrestling background and then like a little bit of like learning from jiu-jitsu and some boxing, I could probably roll and beat up most of the guys in hand-to-hand combat there, because people had very, very little training when it came to hand-to-hand combat. I think we're getting better about it nowadays, because there is a lot more emphasis in the MMA, especially at the higher levels. It's definitely more common at the tier 1 levels. And I know the Marines do it, which I think is a good idea. I do wish it was incorporated a little bit more into the other services, especially. Andrew Tate, are you homosexual? I'm not. I'm very straight. But, got no problem with anybody who is. Big Chungus, VA benefits are amazing. They can be. Lava Lamp, hello beautiful people. What's up, brother? Maddox, can I be real with you? Can always be real with me. Hey, boy Jay, marrying kids. Like I said, no, not married, no kids. You're giving people, Nomad G19, you're giving people the wrong advice. They need to go into a specific job to be able to come out of the military and have a success of getting a career. Bro, that's what I said. I said, go find out what the thing that you want to do in the military. Go do it and then leave. That's exactly what I said. If you're going to come in here and be like, oh, you're getting the wrong advice, actually understand what I said. What books would you recommend a blue-collar guy looking to better his whiteness routine? What is a whiteness routine? Are you talking about like a white collar? You're gonna have to clarify that question. Nomad, engineering, communications, etc. Bro, you can have any job in anything, or you can just go in for the experience of being in the military. Just have a goal of what you want to do, go in, get it, and then get out, and then go do something else. You don't have to know exactly what you're going to do, because a lot of times people go into a career that they thought they wanted, and after spending 5 years into it, then they realize this is not the thing that I want to do, and they go off and do something else. There's no problem with changing your careers. You don't have to know exactly what you want. And honestly, most people are happiest when they get to what they thought their career was going to be. Because they did it 5 years and it was like, oh, this is not for me. And then they take that experience, that variable experience that they learned from this other job, and they take it to their next job, which may not be the same job, but there's a lot of experience that they can take from the other job that can make them better at their current job. So, yeah. How do you feel about biscuits? Too dry, my cushion. Steve, I am 5 years old. Today's my birthday. Happy birthday. Mickey, brother, you're boring us. Pop the top off and do some push-ups for the chat. Mickey Dicky, sorry to disappoint, brother. If my voice bores you, bro, it's my voice. I got nothing for you. NW minus Hulk Hogan B system agendas on the Play World stage are being set up. Guys, you guys are ridiculous. I don't even know what this stuff means. How are you? I'm doing pretty good. Long weekend, really tired, you know, and just trying to get back into the whole posting and getting everything back on track since my 6-week hiatus. Radom, brother, hope you're doing well. Life is smart, man. I've been expecting harsh shit, man. Always try to keep positive and never think the negative. Always flip the positive by negative. Yeah, could not agree with him more, brother. You know, it's no matter what you do, like if you're somebody who can take the worst situations and you can still just keep a smile on your face and look towards like what, you know, keep a positive attitude, you are going to become a dangerous person just in life, because the more shit that you get piled on and comes at you, the stronger person you're going to be. And then people are going to be like, oh, I wish I was like so strong like you. And I was like, do you really want to have went through the stuff that I've had to go through to even get to this? And a lot of people don't necessarily want that. Mickey Dicky, yeah. Nomad G19, this guy is being very vague. Whatever specific career field you want to do in the civilian world, make sure you pick something that's going to give you that training while you're serving time. All right. So once again, if you know what you're going to do, like I said earlier, then go for that. But if you don't know, you can still join the military, do something that you would like to do in the military, and then figure out as you go. Like this concept that you have to know exactly what you're going to do, you know, like one, it's a bit of a fallacy, because even if you get there, then you might realize that like, hey, this is not what I want to do. So, you know, as long as you're going forward, you're getting valuable work experience in certain fields, you know, there's no right answer. Like, and especially as like fields change. Like I remember 10 years ago, everybody's like, go into the IT field. Well, anybody who understands what's going on in the IT world, it's really hard for people to get an IT job. So just because you think it's a great job now, it may not be in 10 years. So that's why it's vague, because shit changes. Nick, are you a combat veteran? Yes. I went on my first deployment in 2007, and I have been deployed quite a bit. Cumulatively, I've been deployed for years. So... Purple, do a backflip. Not today. Are you the guy who's friends with Andrew Tate? No, I think you're thinking of what is his name? Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. He's like that. He's that real estate guy who's always hanging out with Andrew Tate, you know, and he wears the tight jeans. Don't get me wrong. I wear, you know, I got big legs, so I wear form-fitting jeans, but that dude puts me to shame in the tight jean department. I can't think of his name. It's like Waller, isn't it right? It's something Waller, right? We're gonna look this up real quick. Yep, Justin Waller. That's who that dude was. LAV, what's the gayest thought you've ever had? Thinking about how I'm going to answer that question, because it's a really dumb question. Crew, you just look up Ishtar, then just look at the Statue of Liberty. Random man, you're not Justin Waller? I'm not Justin Waller. What was working relationship like with the medics and the SMUs? Opinions on career paths. Um, if you want to be a medic, like a medic is like if you like that type of stuff. Um, so in my experience, the two best, most prestigious medics, which I think are probably get the best training, are 18 deltas and PJs. Are probably the two. Like if I was personally wanted to be a medic, I'd either shoot for becoming an 18 delta or becoming a PJ. I think they get the best overall training, not just from like a medical standpoint of view, because I do think that they get probably some of the most extensive medical training. But they also get a lot of tactical training and insertion training, like go to free fall school, maybe dive school, all these different things like that. So I think that if you like the medical field, 18 Delta or Air Force PJ is the way to go. If you're a gamer, you should definitely try DayZ with your background. It'll excel at survival game with a lot of realism. So I played, not DayZ, but I played Escape from Tarkov for quite a bit. I've definitely done a couple wipes as Escape from Tarkov. Obviously, I had to, because one, I really do like the intensity of that game. And, to be honest, as much as I know about guns, I actually probably learned more about guns from playing Escape from Tarkov. Carl, you're an idiot. Games are not real life. Carl, I understand what you're saying. Look, everybody, just be nice to everybody. You don't need to be calling everybody idiots. Crew, bunch of simps up in here. Crew, bro, you got an attitude problem, bro. Were you an 18 Fox before you were scanned for orange? No, I was not. Jack Staple just started tape mouthing. Sleep recovery has improved dramatically. Looking forward to maybe sharpening my face too. Yeah, dude, try it. All you can do is really try it. But I definitely saw a difference, and mainly like my sleep definitely got better. And I used to always like you'd see pictures from the sides, and I could tell like it just wasn't as sharp. And then I would say after a month, I started seeing pictures, and it already started to look better. Like the neckline that comes up here, it just becomes sharper. And I think there's a lot of other residual effects, like especially if you understand mewing and those type of things. There's other things like that, and then other things like that. Thoughts on the idiots in your chat with discernment, with no discernment. All right. So this is how we do this. All right. So just remove that dude. Look, if you come in here into this chat and you're just going to call people idiots, I'm going to remove you. I just don't care for it. Like, if you want to have a discussion, let's have a discussion. If you want to come in here and be an idiot, goodbye. I have no fucking time for it. You look like you should be in a Gillette razor commercial. I appreciate you. Was that Buck DeLorean? I appreciate you, brother. 2 inches the best for healthy grass year long. See, look, coming in here and you're just getting knowledge about the most random of things. Appreciate you guys. Javier Gonzalez, thoughts on Christianity? Well, I actually grew up in a Roman Catholic family. I personally don't put too much stock in the institutions of religions nowadays, but I do think that it's important to have faith in something, but also coming back to that, you should be a skeptic. So, just because someone tells you something, whether it's your government, your religion, or anybody, you should be skeptic of what anybody's telling you, and then use your own logic and your own morals and your own character foundation to judge whether something is right or wrong or false or fact. That'd be my advice on that. Mr. Bubby is 50-year-old, too late to start a new career? No. There's a really interesting book. It's called I read it years ago. It's called Hannibal and Me, and it's about an interesting look at success. And it talks about not only like Hannibal and his, he never lost a battle against Rome, but he lost the war, right? And it's an interesting look of how success, and in there's a lot of case studies on a number of people who got early success in their life, but then kind of like fell off. But then there's people who got successful later in life, like in their 40s and 50s, who just like crushed it for the rest of their life because it took them so long to get to that success. So, and I think like people like, you know, like Morgan Freeman is my understanding. Like Morgan Freeman, before he didn't become a famous actor until he was in his 50s. And I think he was like bagging groceries or some story like that. I don't know the exact details, but it's something like that. And there's a number of successful people who didn't become successful until later in life. So it's never too late. I'm always trying to be more and more successful myself. And I think like there's it's a sliding scale. What you think is successful now may not be what you think is successful in 5 years. Mr. Bubby Five. And once again, hi brother. Appreciate it. And I hope that helped answer your question. If you do, answer again. Is there anything I want to buy land? What are your thoughts on investing for their life, no matter what their or career wise? I want to buy land, but what are your thoughts on investing for their life? Or do you mean like investing for the life of your life when you buy that land, no matter what their career was? Sorry, your question is, could you reword it? I'm not exactly sure what you exactly mean, Mr. Big Think. Greg asks, have you studied bull daggers? The hell are bull daggers? We're looking this up. So I just looked this up, and if it is what I think, which is the first thing that came up when I looked it up, we're obviously not discussing it. The Bay Harbor Butcher, Dexter. Oh, I remember when that show came out. That show was ahead of its time. Like there was no show like that. What to do after graduating high school? Well, that's a great question. Basically, you need to start thinking about what you want to do, and if you don't know what you want to study in college, maybe there's no reason to go study, but maybe like go to a trade school, try something for a couple years. You have to get out there. You may have an idea what you think you want to do, right? A lot of people think they do, but you don't really know until you try it. And some of the most amazing people have done so many different careers, and they have so much life experience. So don't think that you have to like know it, right? Just go out and just start doing stuff. Start working, start getting a job, start learning experience, that work experience, and just get that experience. And then that's when you're going to start. And then you may stumble on something while in a career that you don't want to be in, and you might stumble on the thing that you are going to do for the rest of your life. And you wouldn't even have known it if you not went down this route of doing something, that you were just like, hey, I'm just trying to get some experience right now. Juanes Baga, okay. Say Epictetus' thoughts on how the more we value things outside our control, the less control we have. Also, how it's not so much the events that happen, but our judgment on them. I could not agree more. It's, Epictetus, and then like I think also Aurelius said this as well. It's we don't have control over outside events. We only have control of how we react to it or how it goes into our minds, and that's so true. And I would say I've mentioned this before, but I feel like one of the most recent, like I'd call modern state Stoic books, is the Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins, because she kind of takes this kind of like more of a modern look to it, which is she's always like, no matter what happens, the thing is like, let them, right? And that's kind of like the same thing. Because once you start realizing you can't control people, you get this like freedom. You're like, I can't do anything about it. So why am I gonna worry about it? I think that's so important for just like overall like success in life, but also like your mental health, because a lot of people get depressed is because they're thinking about things that they can't control. And I know I've done that. Like probably my darkest days is I was thinking about everything I couldn't control. So yeah, I completely agree, Mr. YNSBGA. Devil Doc 15, 36-year-old effeminate corpsman with the Marines looking to do National Guard SF. How do I eventually reclass as an 18F? So you would have to speak to a National Guard recruiter. No, you a National Guard SF recruiter. If you send me an email, so I have all the email distros for all the National Guard SF guys. So if you send me an email, my email is in the bio for my channel. If you send me an email, I can get you, I just need to know exactly what area that you'd like to serve, where you'd like to be located, and I will find you a recruiter, an SF National Guard recruiter, as close to that area as I can, and then you can start the conversation with you, and then they can help you throughout the whole path. They'll know how for you to apply, everything like that. Stoic, who keeps saying honka-tonk with a deck in chat? I didn't see the honka-tonk thing, or maybe I just missed it. I got a 67 on my test, John H. 67 on what test? The ASVAB? Have you read Nick Lavery's book? And if so, do you think it's a good way to approach goal setting? What is the name of Nick Lavery's book? Let's look this up. Objective Secure, the battle-tested guide. I'm going to be honest, I haven't read this, but I have heard the story of Nick Lavery. Now that I'm looking at the pictures, I do recognize this guy. I remember seeing the story about this. I haven't read the book. This dude's pretty impressive, especially from what I do know about him. So I especially have, that dude with the above knee amputation and then going back to serve again, after that, like it's just, most honestly, it's beyond impressive. So I'm pretty sure anything that guy is saying is probably pretty good advice. I haven't read it, so I can't really speak to that, but you probably can't go wrong. Calisthenics Live and NORC Life in New York City. Weights or calisthenics? I actually say both. So I'm actually a big fan of calisthenics because I think like, what's the point if you don't master your own body weight? Which is one of the reasons why I wanted to learn how to do gymnastic stuff. I wanted to learn how to do flips. I want to do muscle ups. I'm actually currently training to do a free handstand and push up where I'm like, I can just, go from like any position and then just go immediately to a handstand. So that's something I'm currently working on. I can do plenty of handstand push-ups, and but I'm working on that control, not just from the abs, but it's mainly I'm lacking the control in my hands to actually control my weight as I'm doing the whole handstand. So, but I also think that weights are also one of the most important things in your body because the stronger you are, obviously you should be, just in general, the stronger you are, the one that you'll be healthier. And I just think that strength, there's no such thing as too much strength, my personal opinion. So I actually think that strength training and calisthenics are both important. I think you should do both. That's my personal opinion. But I do think they're both awesome. Sugar White, best financial book. I really like Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I feel like it's really good because it kind of like, it's a really interesting, a great way to look at money and how to deal with it and how to take risks and success. So I think that's a pretty good one. Should White possible to be on TRT while in the W course? I don't think so. Granted, I've been out of that community for like 6-7 years now. But so I don't know what the whole view on that is, but I've already talked about this. My view, like, unless you're like testosterone deficient, like if you go get it tested and you have lower than normal, then I think that there's like way to get it like up to normal levels. But I'm not a believer in gear. I don't think that you should be, you know, I believe in doing it the more natural way. But if you definitely, there's a medical reason why it's below normal, then yeah, I do think that there are that having treatments to get it above or back to normal levels, or at least at like good levels. I think there's definitely a conversation for that, because I get my blood tested, and if it ever drops below a certain level, just because I am getting older, I definitely believe that there will be some testosterone treatment to get it back into good norms, right? But not like what people on gear get that stuff up to. So I hope that answered your question. Oh, the Q course, yeah. But yeah, Red Starbucks, you're brand new, and look at all these 300,000 views and subscribers for 2025. That's great. Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. Yeah, brand new, trying to, you know, do things right, as they say, and make a difference. My whole idea of this channel is value add. I just want to add value. If you open up a video, that it can add value, right? Because why not share that? Why not be that community where we share things, we help people, and that's all really I want. Obviously, there's a few times where I do make videos like updates of like, hey, this is what I'm doing, just because some people might find it interesting, but majority of everything I'm gonna do is always gonna be value added. So Ryan Smith, most people don't sit there and appreciate the strength of a suffering man. Most people are judgmental and continue to make the man stay focused to be stronger and dangerous. Yeah, I'd agree. People definitely do that. And I think people do that for varying different reasons. I think sometimes people judge, and I think a lot of it comes from like, hey, whether they know it or not, they're like, at least I'm glad I'm not that person suffering, but everybody suffers, everybody goes through it, right? And it's all about how you deal with it. And from somebody who's and I've seen other people go through it, and I've been through it myself. I think one of the things that reason why it took me longer to get out of the depression and everything that I was in, that was really my darkest times, is I didn't talk to anybody. I completely shut off, and I think that, and that's one of the reasons why I talk about this, as like, just talk to somebody. Because just be like, hey, you're going through some stuff, it's gonna be okay, I promise, it will get better. And if you're not talking about it, right, obviously you shouldn't talk about it nauseam, but you need to, whatever it might be, maybe you need to grieve, or maybe you need to hear somebody. And I think that guys, we were just culturally trained to not to swallow our feelings, especially in these hyper masculine communities. Suck it up, as you've been told to numerous times. And I just think we need to talk about it more, and just make it culturally more like normal to do that, and more socially acceptable. Yeah, Double Duck, yeah, I'm probably way behind on this stuff, so yeah. um Jibowitz, you know what they say about big legs, big feet? Well, it's funny, because I actually have really big legs, but for my height, I actually have small feet. I think most people who are 6'2" have like size 13 feet. I have like size 11 and a half. How old is too old to go National Guard SF, in your opinion, with no prior service? Whatever the age limit is. And to be honest, they have waivers for everything. Like, to be honest, I technically was too old when I went to flight school. I had to get an age waiver and a time and service waiver, because I think the cutoff was like 32 or 33, and whatever it was, I was a year older than the cutoff, so I actually had to get an age waiver to go to flight school. Sunset Bunny, Jesus, the way, truth, and the life. Mr. McThink, 36. Yeah, it probably is. That's what it sounds like. I know it's like mid 30s for the cutoff for the uh to go as SFAS and stuff like that. 2003, so handsome. I appreciate that. I'm not a Stoic personally, but as a philosophy major, it's very cool to see a revival in Stoic thought. Absolutely, was it Jay Flynn? And I think there's a lot of, because I think people really see the real world applications and how it works, especially with, you know, there's an interesting study, or it's an interesting outlook on life, right? Where we, because we know so much more about what's going on through social media and news and, you know, the internet, even though the world is in a much better place, right? It doesn't necessarily seem like that because we're getting all the news about all this bad stuff that's happening. But, you know, in the past, when we didn't have this level of communication, we understanding of what was going on in the world, a lot worse stuff was going on, but we didn't really know about it, and we weren't inundated with it on such like a daily basis, an hourly basis, you know, or minute, depending how much you check your phone. And I think with that, with just understanding all the stuff that negative happens, I think it's even more important than ever to have these sort of concepts, these sort of philosophy that like stoicism and other types of philosophy, disciplines and brands that you might find within the philosophy world. And I think that's why it's even more important today. And I think it's probably one of the reasons why it's sort of becoming revived, is because it is effective, and I think it's needed, just from, how to deal with things and still be successful in life. What do you call it when a blonde blows into an ear of another blonde? A data transfer. I don't even know. What do you even classify that as a dad joke? Just to think, meta transferred. Rangers or wild Marines. That's definitely an outlook on it. I would actually say that the more disciplines, I actually think that Rangers is our very disciplined group. DJ, what's up, brother? Do you have any good biscuit recipes? I don't make biscuits. Sorry, but Electron Eminus. Brantley Marshall, hello, what's up? I just smashed that dislike button. Well, everybody's entitled to their opinion, Real West Man. The Batman. I am Batman. I'm trying to think, I'm Batman. This guy is still selling basically a Viking badass. Dave Jones, I appreciate you believing that or thinking that, I think, yeah. I'm just trying to be who I am. Be authentic, be me, be real. And however that comes off, it is what it is. I don't have a religion. I have a relationship with Jesus, my God. Yeah, so this goes back to what I was saying earlier. I don't really put too much stock into the institutions of religion, of organized religion, but I think it's definitely important to have faith in something, whatever you may believe in. Wow, I've never been on a stream so GD boring. Well, this is what I do. Come on here, and people want to answer questions. If you don't like it, you can always move on. You don't have to stay here. God bless 365 nonstop. God bless you, man. God bless you, brother. Appreciate you. I just beat my cousin in golf, Mr. Grayson. Jesus, our Lord and Savior, he died for us. Did he help you win that game of golf against your cousin? Do you, Vike? Do you, bro? Who's the memorial bracelet for? It is my very first deployment in 5th Group. My buddy, who was on the team that I was assigned to, he got killed in we were doing a raid that night, and unfortunately, I think there was an ambush waiting for us. It was a trap, and he got killed. And he was one of probably like one of the first guys on this team when I came to the team to like welcome me, and was just such an amazing like person, and it was such like this crazy, just he was such a character. But yeah, it was one of my he was like the first friend of mine to get killed in it was on my very first deployment in 2007. The kitty pigs, the beard. I'm assuming you like the beard, so that's what I'm just go with. I'm just thinking the positives. That's how we do. Should I save money on nowadays? I got decent, but save just. I'm sorry. Let me. Apparently, I don't know how to read. All right, sorry. Ty, should I save money or not now? Days I just got decent bit saved. Just don't want to spend on useless garbage. Well, if you don't, I think that's good. Here, I have two thoughts on this. All right. So when it comes to spending money, right, you should always have a reserve, right? You should have something for emergencies, right? Because you don't want to get in the situation where obviously you should take risks in life, right? But you should try, if possible, to have some sort of a reserve. So just in case if something goes really, really bad, you have something to fall back upon. But I would definitely, especially on the younger side of things, don't necessarily spend it all on garbage, because honestly, a lot of stuff that I used to spend on money on, I I wouldn't even if I even still had it, I wouldn't keep it. It's crazy how some of the things that you think are important in your life, or you're like, oh, I want this, and then you don't even like just a year later, you're like, why I would never buy that ever again, So I hope that answers your question. Who's your next victim, Mr. Dexter, sir? I'm assuming, Oscar, you're the one who's talking about the Bay Harbor Butcher. Quick question: would you rather watch a tree grow or a Negro? Neither. Sorry. Luke Green, MAGA, say hi. MAGA. You guys. Swear to God. Okay, Stoicism, awesome. Use it every day. My invent, Mr. McThink. Yeah, it's definitely Stoicism had definitely helped me through a lot of really hard times, and even nowadays I still go through stuff, and it really helps me. And I actually have been getting. I got some of the best compliments that I had the other day, which was someone who was saying that like, hey, and they know that I recently went through something really really hard, and they're like, you know what? He's like, what impresses me? He's like, you always have a smile on your face. You were just always this happy, sunny disposition of person, right? And even though I like on the inside, I definitely may not feel like that sometimes, but I definitely using these practices and these disciplines and the tenets of different things, but like stoicism obviously being one of the biggest ones, has really helped me to always stay, in a positive mindset, no matter what is going on around me, no matter how much my life is falling apart or may appear to do so. So I think it's been really helpful to me, and I know it's helped a lot of other people as well. Mr. McThink, my investments well, right? It's trial and error. You invest in certain things. Like I've invested in a whole number of different things. I've made money, I've lost money, and one thing to always think about is I met this one guy, and he's not a billionaire, but he's like close. And I was talking to him because he's a friend of the family's, and we were having a conversation, and I was like, what's the one thing that's like you would find most interesting about the community that you're in, which is like the people who are near that, like around that billionaire level. And he's like, well, he was telling me, he's like, we have a club, right? We've got a group of friends who are all like really like have net worth like 600-700 million dollars, right? Somewhere around there. And he said, you actually cannot join this club until you've been bankrupt or lost it all. And I think that's really interesting because it's kind of like you have to fail. You have to fail forward. You have to fail in order to learn how to succeed. Like failure is a part of the learning process. So, if you have investments that have just been all right, don't get down on it. Just keep going at it. Just keep getting better. Look at the analysis that you're using to determine what you think are good investments. And then that should constantly be evolving after every trade that you do or every investment. Because the whole thing is a learning process, right? And it's constantly, updating your knowledge on everything. So, the Nigerian night about, hey, I want to be Mossad, Delta Ranger Team 6. What are the first steps I should take? I'm going to be honest, bro. The Nigerian Nightmare, you're probably already too badass to be all these, because if you want to be all these all at the same time, Like you probably just have to create your own unit and just be like, like John Wick. You're probably John Wick. Are you John Wick? If you are, blink. I never get scared, Ghost. I'm a Christian. Damn it, Sonny. Bromingo, you look like Dexter's son. It's crazy sauce. I have, you know what? When they came out with the new season, I started watching it, and I got to like the second episode, and I meant to finish it, right? I think something else came up, or I think I went on a work trip. I just never finished it. 11 Bravo. 11 Bang Bang. Damn it, Sonny. Damn it, Sonny H. 11 Bravo. Bro, how is life? Where are you stationed at? Need a famous person for an edit. Thank you, sir. I'll send you an email. All right, cool, Double Dog. I look forward to it. It's impossible to say grenade 10 times fast. It probably is, and so I'm not going to attempt it. Sugar White, advice on language learning. Okay, so I'm going to be honest. I'm not so adept at languages. I did go to school in the military for Persian, Farsi. Um, the and it really comes down to like most things. It's like repetition, repetition. You just have to practice it. The most the most effective way to actually become really good at a language, you have to start thinking in that language. And if you've never done that before, like you only really know one language and you maybe know a little bit of second language, but you speak really more from memorization of the words. It's a little harder, but then once you, for the first time, you can actually start thinking in a second language. Learning other languages actually becomes easier, and that's why usually you'll find somebody who maybe knows like one or two, and then like if someone usually is bilingual, they usually know like five or six. And there's one of the reason it's a reason for that because like once you start to understand that concept is that you know how to think in these other languages is really when you really start to get it. And then obviously going on immersion trips, like if you want to learn the Spanish, and if you want to learn Spanish from Spain, obviously go on a trip, go there, and then try to go in make a deal with yourself. Like I'm not going to use English like at all. If I have to, I have to talk around stuff, and that's actually a big thing. So when you're trying to learn a language, don't use your crutch of going to English. Like learn the words that you can use to learn how to talk around anything. So you learn how to talk around anything, you're good to go, and you'll like learn so much. It's actually pretty impressive. So if a guy who, like me, who really not the smartest dude in the world and definitely not the most apt, have the highest aptitude when it comes to languages, and I did pretty well at Persian Farsi. Mr. So thank you for your dedication. I appreciate it, man. Have a change. Watch my edits. Thank you for your time. Navigating through some of the troll comments, they give us what we're looking for was knowledge, incredible value. Sorry, I don't think I actually said that correctly. No, I appreciate that because that's all I'm trying to do. Like I get it. These streams are not super exciting or anything like that, but one, I just want to get on here, and this is also for me to practice. Like I really just gotta, like I'm still trying to get better at how I speak. Like that's actually a constant struggle. Like I was in a really bad car accident when I was like 19, and I suffered a lot of brain damage. There's like this little X right here, and that was like the impact point. And I regressed to like a second grade math fault, but I had speech problems for years, and I've still been trying to get better at the way that I speak, the cadence. Obviously always trying to increase my vernacular, my vocabulary and everything like that, and not using pause words or like ums and things like that, which I'm slowly, this whole journey going through social media has definitely gotten me better. Definitely doing higher up, well, on TikTok, there's Higher Up Wellness, the guy named Higher Up Wellness. He does like a 60-second challenge for better public speaking. And that's actually how I started doing TikTok. And that definitely helped me. And so this is also to help me to get better at this, and then also kind of get rid of, because it's still to this day, and I don't know if it's ever going to go away, it still feels cringe to do this, right? To be completely honest, and talking to you guys, especially you guys who are in here asking legitimate questions about things, like you guys actually make this so much easier for me because I actually start to enjoy this. I actually legitimately enjoy giving value add, giving adding value. And if I can answer a question or I can answer emails, like I do this all for free because I enjoy it. So I hope that makes sense. So once again, Suka White, I appreciate you. Cool guy. Yo, bro, have you ever read Thus Spoke wow, Zarathustra? No, that I have not. But you know what? Since you put it up, we're gonna look up what it is. Well, let's see. Some of you guys that Mr. Frederick Nietzsche, our boy Nietzsche over here. You know what? I did read. I read I can't remember. Just last year, I actually read one of his. He had a short book that I read, and it was. You know what? I'm gonna look exactly what it was. What book I actually read of Nietzsche's. He's I think that he has some amazing concepts. He is definitely a little, for anybody who's read his work, he's a little. If you haven't have like a more of a modern translation of like they're really trying to bring it out to maybe some more layman terms. Takes me a while to get through his work just because it's I'm not the most intelligent person in the world, but I do try to like really get into like these people who, especially as philosophers, who are really into some really deep ideas like Nietzsche is. And so I'm trying to think which is his book that I read. Oh, Beyond Good and Evil is the one I read. So I haven't actually read this, but would you, cool guy, would you recommend it? And honestly, what was your thoughts about it? What was the things that you liked about it and what you didn't like about it? Paulie Bednes, can you shout out Chris and Shawnee? What's up, Chris and Shawnee? How you guys doing? Our ball, wow. All right, we're gonna redo that, okay? Chris and Shawnee, what's up? How you guys doing? We appreciate you. Stony Viking says, what's up? Ever heard of a coconut crab? Isn't it something that you eat? How about Crime and Punishment? Many people say it's the best book of all time. So I have heard that people, usually in the top like 50 lists, I usually see Crime and Punishment. But honestly, I don't think I've ever met anybody who said it was the best book they ever read. I feel like I put Crime and Punishment in the same category of The Art of War. I think it's definitely a top 50 read, like almost like in kind of like your classics. But I don't think it doesn't, it's not like this riveting book that I feel like is like if I had to pick like one book where I feel like would change someone's life positively for the better, change someone's life for the better. Yeah, Crime and Punishment would not be in there, but I do definitely think it is, one of the best books in that particular area, if not the best book in that particular subject. Jason 69, I'm 6'3", I'm a 14'2". Yeah, so I know that like at 16'2", like most people have size 13 feet, but I have 11 and a half, so I got little feet. Cool guy. I think stoicism is fine enough, but some people take it and it talks away and become very callous and mean individuals. Give me an example of something when you felt like someone was being stoic and they were callous and mean individuals. I would love to hear your thoughts on it or what the situation was. Nightmare Files, how's it going? What's up, brother? How you doing? Jason, I'm agnostic, but I believe in a higher power. Yeah, so full transparency, if I had to label myself as anything, I would probably label myself as agnostic. Like I said, I don't really believe in the institution of religion, but I do think that there is a possibility that there is a higher power. I don't rule that out. But I do put most of my stock into, you know, what I personally believes from, my moral and my foundation morally and as a I have great character. So I do think it's important to have faith in something, whatever that might be. Sugar White, what's the first turnaround you've seen someone go from out of shape to being able to smash the SFAS PT standard? Probably 3 months. I've seen someone, yeah, 3 months. You can definitely do a lot in 90 days. 6 months, you can I feel like you're going to get to any fitness level into almost 6 months, at least within the any SFAS PT standard, no matter how bad. I think you can take the worst dude who's out of shape, and I think you can get them there in 6 months. What was Professor Rhymes' advice in the movie DC Cab? That question is directed to me. I have no idea. How long were you in Gable? It wasn't. How many guys go on a J set to Colombia and either come back with a Colombian wife or divorce from their wife in the States? Sugar White, that is a very, especially if you're in seventh group, it's very common. We guys are well. I was never in seventh group, but you always hear stories, and we always had the joke that everybody in seventh group has a second family in Colombia. Army Ranger, SA Army, SF-18, looking at any one of these paths for intelligence. Honestly, I don't know that much about, the Army Ranger RMIB. Honestly, any of those paths would be distant. I do think, it's really kind of, I guess, what do you want? Do you want to be more intelligence focused, or do you want to have like a blend, like a hybrid of like intelligence and tactical experience? So that would probably dictate which of those three that I would recommend. Do you have any advice for someone considering becoming a military chaplain? I've heard it helps to have some psychology knowledge under your belt. Yeah, I do think it has to do with, you need to understand, theology, obviously, psychology. I also think philosophy is, you know, I think if you can't really study really truly and really be objective as you can about theology if you don't understand philosophy, and then also history, right? But then psychology also is a way into that because, you know, theology and a lot of other things are just theories. Theology, especially, based off of certain things, how do we interpret? And I think if you have those, essentially those you study those four different disciplines probably pretty heavily, I think that would make for somebody pretty knowledgeable and just in general about the things that are either viewed positively within, for a chaplain or, within religion, and also understanding things have how it's viewed negatively, because you really have to understand the failures of the institutions of religion. Nightmare Files. You can't just join the army and go straight to those positions. 18F is not an MOS. You can get ICE is not a unit straight. This is all true. Nightmare Falls. Yeah, you're absolutely true. Osiris may have meant like that's like his like end goal, you know. So that's maybe what you're talking about, but you're not wrong, Nightmare Falls. So Osiris, if you didn't know, you can't go straight into those positions. But if that is your eventual goal, then yeah, then that's the conversation we're having. Back row, Jacko, are you able to stay close with your buddies and stayed in service, or did you have to completely cut ties with that in the world in order to move on? I'm leaving the military in 2 weeks after 10 years in. You definitely don't have to cut ties in order to move on. this really just comes back to like, look, I have friends that are out, and I have friends that are much more involved in the military because I'm kind of on my way out myself. But I really think it comes down to not tying your identity to your job and not tying your identity to the military, because I think that's where people really struggle. And you should, have communications. And obviously, there's going to be some FOMO when you're talking to your buddies who are still in when you get out. But just, know why you got out, and then just, you know, keep pushing forward. And then remember, the military is not your identity, right? You're off to do bigger and better things, to do something different, because I really don't think, I think you can find an easier path to a greater purpose outside of the military once you've gained that valuable experience that you can get from within the military. I hope that answer your question, Macro Jacko. Nathan Hale, don't discount the Ranger MIB. The smartest guy I've ever met was just a sergeant MIB. Solid dudes. Yeah, I don't know much about them, but I've heard really good things. Honestly, everything that comes out of Ranger Regiment, um, you really can't go wrong with. Whether it's RRC, the MIB, all the different things. It's just a great organization. I've always think that Rangers are definitely one of the best organizations of how they've run, just historically and just even today. Like I feel like they're being run better than SF. Like even look at how the Ranger Regiment, how Rangers are doing their social media. They're even they're killing on the social media. It's just for recruiting, way better than SF. Nathan Hill, I'm definitely learning that way, starting as a 35 series. Yeah, it's definitely a decent path. Yeah, when I started, I was actually, I was a 35 papa. Um, Actually, back in the day, it was a 98 Golf, and I went to DOI. I'm sure you're probably talking about your buddy in the MIB. Any advice on funding a fulfilling civilian? Any advice on finding a fulfilling civilian job as a veteran? Well, that's definitely one of the. I guess it's probably like the $1 million question, BD. Um, you kind of just have to find the thing that you are passionate about. There's this concept. It's a Japanese concept. It's called ikigai, and if I remember correctly, it's it's where when you're trying to find like your purpose in life, and you're like the job, what you want to look for is like there's four main elements to ikigai, which is you find what you love, you find something that you love, you find something that you're also good at, you find what the world needs, and you find it was something you can pay for. If you can find something that has all four of the elements of ikigai, you're gonna be happy. Like that's basically where people find their purpose of life. And if you don't know, you just have to go out there and you have to try things. You got to figure it out, because a lot of times you may not know you like something. You might think you like it, then you try it, and then you still don't like it. But then you can also, in the times that where you're trying something, or maybe you're in a profession or you're in a job, you might somehow stumble upon some other profession within that's maybe not even related to that job, that you'd be like, oh, I didn't even know this was a thing. And then go that path, because you never know. But you just have to get out there and you have to do things. And like, there is no negative return to life. There's no negative return or even diminishing returns to life experience. Like if you're out there doing a job, regardless of something that you like, as long as you do plan to transition, but doing it for at least a little bit, you can't go wrong with that. Great. Tasty list. Say hi to my brother Soren. He thinks you're inspiring. What's up, Soren? I appreciate you, and thank you for everybody's support, and especially yours. If you guys think that what I'm trying to do is helping you guys, like that fuels me to continue to do this. And honestly, that's the reason why I do this, is because like we're in here. Obviously, a lot of the people who were less desirable in this comment already had to kick out one. Like, you guys are like why I do this, right? Or why I continue to do this. And like the days when I want to get up and I don't want to do it, I can tell you, like, obviously, like, discipline is everything, but one of the main motivations, right, is this discourse and the such positive feedback that I get from this. Like, for example, I don't even look at the time. Like, it's just crazy. Like, I feel like I've been on it 15 minutes, and we've been going an hour and a half, and I really appreciate it. Aviation Squawk, hey bud, 32, about to sign an 18 X-ray contract, really working hard towards my run rock times. I'm in great shape, otherwise I've been in weight training for the past 6 years. What was your entry into SF? Former business owner is now studying computer science or CU Boulder and having seen the job look out like. Former business owner of 7 years, now studying computer science at CU Boulder and having seen the job outlook just isn't for me. Yeah, it's like one of those things, like once you don't know it until you try it, right? I think this is a really big in the medical community because a lot of people think like, oh, I want to be a doctor, right? Until they get there and they're like, oh, I can't deal with blood. But they didn't know until they tried it, or other aspects of whatever profession you may like going in. You mean like religious or what? Raphael, gift. Appreciate you guys. I love Jesus and God has been huge in my Army career. About to take my 37-year-old ass to selection. Hey, I'm all for it, brother. Good luck. My runtime is currently, Aviation Squawk, my runtime is currently 2 miles for 17 minutes. So lots of works to do with, but I have some time looking at about 5-6 months. Your run time is currently 2 miles for 17 minutes. So lots, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Definitely, yeah, keep at it. You want to get, you definitely want to get below 15 minutes. Obviously, probably the best is to probably be somewhere around between 13 and 14. So I'm just going through all this stuff. All right, we're gonna have to remove some people. People are just blowing up the comments with stupid out stuff. Nightmare Falls. Good night, brother. Jay Flynn. So I actually have not seen the movie Warfare, but I want to. I'm gonna be honest. It's on my list to watch it. I'm probably actually gonna watch this week. But everybody that I know that I trust their opinion, they liked it. So I'm gonna go in with an open mind. But I hear good things. Because obviously I'm very critical when I see military movies. Especially ones of Iraq, Afghanistan, or things like, other things like Africa, stuff like that. So I'm actually looking forward to it. Have you ever heard about Muhammad al-Zoot? Who is Muhammad al-Zoot? What are your thoughts on potential radical organizations, terrorist organizations bending together for a single attack? Well, I feel like that's always a risk at any one time. Anybody can band together, if they ever settle, put aside their differences. Sugar White, best book to help pass selection. Depends which selection. SFAS. I actually think there is a book that specifically is like how to pass the Q course. Assalamu alaikum. What is this supposed to be? Are you asking what Assalamu alaikum is supposed to be? It's a greeting. Alaikum salam. You should look up Muhammad al-Zoot. Alright, we're looking it up. Alright. Well, I'm going to have to look this up later. What is your favorite book? Well, that is, that's a sort of a nuanced question. It kind of depends, whether, what's my favorite history book, or what's my favorite philosophy book, or what's my favorite sci-fi book. So when I'm reading, so probably two of my favorite are philosophy and history. I love philosophy and history, right? Because I feel you can learn so much about the world, right? From both philosophy and history, because of, people have already made mistakes and they've already like found success. Why not? We don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? So I love that type of stuff. But when I'm not doing that, I actually really like sci-fi books. I'm a big sci-fi fan. And I would say that my favorite sci-fi series is the Horus Heresy series for Warhammer 40,000. And I feel like especially the very first three books of the Horus Heresy are like amazing. And obviously I've read like a lot of the Horus Heresy. I forget how many books it's up to. It's like over 100 I think now for the Horus Heresy series. But the first three books I felt were like amazing. And I don't remember the last time I'd read a sci-fi novel where I'd gotten like emotional like while I'm reading it. And I definitely did I think it was at the end of the second book or into the third book of the first three books. So, but I'm actually currently reading the Red Rising series right now because I like to switch off between like either some sort of like self-help or like nonfiction book, and then I like to rotate to a fiction book, like doing sci-fi. And I'm in book 4 of the Red Rising series right now, which I actually really enjoyed the Red Rising series. Because especially if you like something like Warhammer 40,000, you would actually like the Red Rising series because it's kind of some sort of similar concepts. What's your opinion on all the vet bro drama with the Army, SF, and SEALs? Is it really a handful of troublemakers, or these organizations as corrupt as they may out to be? I think that's a complicated question, especially that second part. Is it really a handful? Well, the part about the organizations or the corrupt as they may out to be. Yeah, that's a complicated question. I do think that people should just, be honest, be real, be authentic. But I think that will just, that type of stuff be a discussion for another time. Kyle, hello from New York. How are you? You are one handsome man. I appreciate that, Kyle. Appreciate you, brother. Quincy Jacobs, what's up, brother? Amari, I say, hey, big dog. What's up, man? How you doing? Ryan, all right, can I be a full-time as a Green Beret in the National Guard, shipping on 18? Can I be full-time as a Green Beret in the National Guard, shipping on 18 X-ray kind of 3 months? I don't know. You can go full-time from the National Guard. Like, you can go on active duty orders as National Guard. I never was in the National Guard, so I don't know the exact. I just know that they can, so I don't know the exact process. But if you talk to a National Guard guy or a National Guard asset recruiter, they can definitely answer those questions. So if you're going in, I'm assuming. Yeah, so I assume you're already going in as a National Guard. So I think if you just talk to one of your guys, they would know how to do, your command. If you make it through, all the way through, and you get your Green Beret, that's definitely a conversation you can have. So dog or cat person? So I actually like all animals. I do like cats and I do like dogs. Obviously, I like horses. I'm really big into horses. But if I had to prefer between cats and dogs, dog. 10th Group Recruiter is a beast, really good guy, and fired me up for sure. Just got to get used to running here in the mountains. Freaking rough, brother. Yeah, yeah, American. Yeah, it's running is like one. I don't even enjoy running, to be honest, but it's just one of the things you have to learn how to be pretty good at. So, but if you've never done it, it doesn't mean you can't become good at it. So just keep working hard at it, man. Keep it up, brother. How many languages do you know? Well, American, you know. But basically, I speak English and Persian, Farsi. I am in the process of, I can dabble in some other languages, but I'm actually in the process of teaching myself Spanish, mainly because, I play a lot of polo, and polo is dominated by Argentinians in the country of Argentina, and everybody in polo speaks Spanish, and so I need to learn how to speak Spanish. So we're in the process. I'm teaching myself right now. He kind of looks like a cat daddy. Well, I definitely like cats, but I'm definitely more of a dog guy. I do like cats. I did grow up with cats. My dad had cats. I appreciate these. Always looking good for advice from good people. Have been there and done that. Keep up the good work. Your channel will take off. Good night, Nathan. Appreciate you, brother. My favorite book is The Never Ending Story. Well, that is a good book. The Never Ending Story is a great book. It's a fucking classic in my personal opinion. People are always asking about SF selection. It's a small chapter of his life. Your mentality, grit matters more, which nobody can teach you. I completely agree. Yeah, and like I was only in SF, I was only at fifth group for a few years. I was only there for 3 years, and then but I spent majority of my time. Yeah, there was only a small portion of the career, so I feel like and that's also what I want to focus on. Like, not about really about what I did in the career. It's more about like what life lessons that you can infer, right? Or you can learn from these experiences, because I think that's what's more important than to what I did is what I learned. And I think that's what I want the focus of this channel to be. So I think that's anonymous. I think that's a great I think that's a great analysis or a great outlook on, this whole thing, this whole channel, what everybody's asking. Obviously everybody's entitled to whatever question, but that is what I really truly want to get at. And I do think it is more important, because for various different reasons. Aviation Squawk. Look, I'm actually a big fan of Sean Ryan. And I think that a lot of the guys that go on there are pretty impressive dudes. I personally don't think that I'm that impressive of a dude. I appreciate you guys thinking that I am, but if ever I was ever to be invited on, if Sean wants to lower his standards for someone like me one day, I would be more than honored. But it's cool to think about. But yeah, Jean-Pierre, I agree. It's a very good point. Favorite and least favorite thing about Afghanistan? The mountains. It's probably one of the most prettiest parts of Afghanistan, but obviously the mountains makes it very hard to operate over there. Afghanistan is hot, especially in a tent. Jamila, do you support Palestine? In what way? Do I believe in the extermination of the Jewish state? I do not, if that's what you're asking. So, Gabe Metcalf, what's up, man? How you doing, brother? All right. So, All right, we're gonna go for probably about 10 more minutes, and then because I remember the last time I did a live, I think I went for almost 4 hours, and I cannot be doing that. I guess we got stuff we got to do. We got videos we gotta edit. We have to do more content. I have to plan. So my next video that I'm doing is I want to do the fitness programs. So obviously, one, I want to cover what progressive overload training is, because it's the main thing that I do nowadays. And then of how, like, I feel like there's two main ways to do progressive overload training, kind of cover those two different ways, and then make that, and then cover what I was doing in my workout programs and now what I'm currently trying, because I'm on a new workout program, which I find is pretty effective. But I do want to cover the ones I have been doing for the majority of the time and the ones that I'm doing now. And then that way you guys understand what we know works, and that we're also what we're trying that's new. And then I want to give updates on how, because I'm currently doing a 3-day, well, 6 days a week or 6 times a week push-pull leg circuit. And I used to do one body part a day or a week, right? So I do 3 days on, 1 day off, 3 days on. And so I'm just like, I need to make videos about this. So obviously in conjunction with the fact that I'm still, in the military, and I still have to retire. I still have to do all this stuff too in order to go down that path. So I've got to get all this stuff done. So I can't stay on here for another 4 hours tonight. So Mason Gonzalez. Well, I appreciate those compliments, brother. Do you meditate? Shoot, it's a good question. I don't really meditate in probably the traditional sense. I find things that I can do that put me in peace. So I probably don't sit there, with my legs crossed, which you probably think is the more common way of when you think of a generalization of what people do to meditate. I probably don't do that. But if I'm like sitting there and I'm riding, like if I'm by myself and I'm on a horse, I'll probably just stop and just kind of like take in the view and just remember that like I'm at a point in my life, that like, wow, man, I have everything that I want right now, but life could be worse, and I should just enjoy being here in the moment. I think that's really important that people, and I failed to do, which is to really live in the moment. And so I think that's probably the closest thing I do to meditating, is I try to live in the moment. And sometimes, obviously got a lot of stuff going on, preparing for things, but then I get to a point where I'm like, I'm going to concentrate for the next 2 minutes, living in this moment and enjoying it. So I hope that answers your question. Do you know Mike Renejo? If not, Google him. All right, Mike Adriano says he's a film producer. Interesting. He's a producer of some interesting films. Lay off the testosterone, buddy. Well, considering I've never been on any sort of testosterone, it would be kind of hard to lay off of it. This is just 20 years of consistent hard work and a lot of eating too. Trust me, if I was on testosterone, I would have accomplished this at year like 2 or 3. But I don't know if you see, I posted a picture, or even it was a short, and it was a picture showing me what I looked like at 30, and I don't have near the muscle mass. And it took me that long, because I started working out when I was like 21. Yeah, it took me a long time to build all the muscle, but it took me so long because I did it naturally. Yeah, pretty normal considering you lived it, especially snowblind to the badassery, but to the majority of users, it is a life they can't imagine. Yeah, that's true. And look, I get that, right? it is, from an outside perspective, it looks like, it's just very like glamorous and very like cool life, and and a lot of aspects of it are. Um, but if you, it's all about perspective, and if you really kind of think about like that type of stuff, it was awesome, right? But there's so other amazing things in life. But if you take what you learn from that, like the good stuff, and why that, how can, and then try to relate it to like how can I take the experience that I've learned, right? No matter how bad, how good it was, or how bad it was, and then try to positively affect it in other avenues of my life going forward that don't involve the military. Like that's what I try to do, because there's a lot of lessons you can be learned from that life. And I think that's more important than what was actually done. And I think it's just a better way to do things when it comes to adding value to people's life in a medium like this, like a YouTube channel. So, Jake Flynn, great content. Just sub. Good night, man. I really appreciate you guys. Triple taco, bro. Stop that shit. All right. All right. All right. Let's see if we got it. Well, once again, I had set aside time to do these emails, but you guys have just been crushing it with the questions. So, it's hard to get shit done around here. All right. So, okay. All right. Yeah. So I'm gonna call it for tonight. I appreciate everybody. Um, yeah. It was nice to get back in here after like 6 weeks. And Avish Clock, I appreciate you. Yeah, to like just kind of like knock the dust off and get back into it. And I feel like it went pretty well. I'm gonna try to do is get a better studio setup. So that's one of my on my to-do lists. So for everything. And Jean Pierre, I appreciate you, brother, and all the great questions. So, buy your meat and cook dinner, yeah. Well, trying to do that while doing this live stream is kind of difficult. So, anyways, I'll talk to you later. Guys, later. Have a good night.